Hey guys, I'm Reprops, and today I'm making a Karambit from CSGO using scrap wood and acrylic paint. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut out the basic shape of the blade and handle out of some scrap plywood. I got this from an old cardboard box. This was just supporting the sides of it. I think it was from a fridge or something. I can't really remember. Anyways, I cut that out with my Dremel and then went through and refined all of these shapes on my belt sander, cutting in some of the bevels and stuff on the handles just to give it the basic shape before I glue it together. I also cut out the basic shape of the ring on the end, just drilling a hole in that, and then I super glued all of the pieces together just using some cyanoacrylic super glue and some accelerant to help speed up the process so that I could get sanding it. And then I went through and sanded it even more. I used the edge of the belt sander to give it the nice finger grooves, also beveling out the edge of the blade with the edge of the belt sander just to give it a nice sharpened look to it. I then went through and painted the whole dagger in some glossy black acrylic paint. I just bought this stuff at Walmart and it covers really well even though it's only $5, so I mean, if you guys are interested, go and check it out. You want to make sure to give it a nice even coverage and not get any brush strokes or anything. So I used a small detail brush to get in all the nooks and crannies, and then a larger brush to smooth out all of the brush strokes and give it a more cohesive look. You want to make sure to brush in the direction of the grain. That way your brush strokes match that and they're not standing out against the grain. And then go through and paint the whole thing with some metallic silver. If you want, you could have masked off the handle, but I decided not to, so I went through and repainted the handle black, just using the same gloss acrylic paint. You still want to make sure that you're brushing in the direction of the grain, but it doesn't really matter at this point because most of the grain should be covered up by the previous layers of paint. So you just want to make sure not to get a lot of brush strokes in this final coat of paint. So do a couple really light coats. Then I went through and used a gunmetal paint pen to paint on a Damascus pattern. I didn't want to get all fancy with my airbrush or anything and give it that rainbow pattern that it occasionally has. So I just went with a Damascus pattern using some reference photos to get kind of a Damascus looking pattern. It's not perfect by any stretch, and the two sides aren't symmetrical at all, but I think it looks pretty nice and it looks like a real knife from a pretty far distance away. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this knife turned out. It's a pretty neat little dagger and it took me only about 5 hours to make in total of sanding and painting and everything. So I think it's totally worth it if any of you guys want small knives like this. You don't have to use a belt sander or any of this. You could totally use like files and sandpaper and stuff. So you don't need any power tools for this. If you guys don't mind checking out my Patreon Matthew actually paid for all the black paint for this. So thank you, Matthew. So if you guys don't mind checking that out so I can continue to make builds like this. If you guys don't mind liking and subscribing, please do. Let me know what builds and stuff you guys want to make and I'll get making them. See you guys next vid. Bye.